one of the things that Dan Brown tried to do a few years ago was say, well, sure, if you believe the official story in the New Testament, but those are all just, that's the documents that are written by the winners in history, and what really happened is they had a dead rabbi on their hands they needed to do something with, so they just came up with this story of, him claiming to be Messiah and the resurrection and so forth. Well, why? If the goal of the New Testament is like to make the apostles look really super good, mission not accomplished, the apostles just come off repeatedly as just a pack of doofuses, and cowards, who betray Jesus that's not the stuff that gets into the official literature. That's not the kind of stuff that you see in like Soviet era literature about Stalin, about how he betrayed Lenin and, was a total coward and all that stuff. You don't get any of that. You get the noble leader kind of thing. And the New Testament is just chock-a-block with portrayals of the apostles as a bunch of dolts. So what is gained by this? Why do they tell the story the way that they do? Because they include things in the New Testament that nobody would invent if you're trying to fake up some fictional God character and take some purely human rabbi and just exalt him to this deified status. If you're trying to do that, here's what you don't do. You don't have your God figure get tired, need to sleep. You don't have your God figure ask questions like he doesn't, not rhetorical questions. Anybody can ask a rhetorical question. God asks rhetorical questions in the Old Testament. You don't have him ask questions like he doesn't know stuff, because that looks bad, right? If you're God, you're supposed to know everything. Jesus asks questions because he doesn't know things. You don't record miracles where Jesus heals somebody and says, how's that? The guy goes, I see people, they look like trees walking around. Oh, and then Jesus does it more, right? It's supposed to be perfect the first time. You're God, right? You don't have Jesus. Here's the one that always amazes me. You're not going to have your God figure. If somebody says, when's the end of the world? I'm not a great fiction writer, but I know enough that if I'm cooking up a fictional deity, here's how you answer that question. The way you answer that question is you say, I know when the end of the world is, but you're not worthy to know, so I'm not going to tell you because of something, In the Gospels, when's the end of the world, Jesus? Beats me. Of that day or that hour, neither the angels in heaven nor the Son know, but the Father only. You don't know when the end of the world is? He doesn't know. Who put that in there? Why is that there, right? If you're doing a fake job, that's a terrible fake job. And above all, you don't have Jesus hanging on the cross saying, my God, why have you forsaken me? That looks really bad. Why is that there? All of those things are there in the Gospels because it's what happened. And so the Gospel writers are constrained to tell the truth of what they heard and what Jesus said, including the stuff that looks bad for their case. But what that does, the net effect of that, is that it makes clear that what we're looking at is the testimony of honest people. Of people who are so honest that they include in all four Gospels the story of Peter's betrayal, which looks terrible. I mean, if you're trying to, we've got a dead rabbi on our hands, we want to found a religious cult so we can control people. So we're going to make up a story about a resurrection so that people will believe this cockamamie stuff, and then they'll listen to us, which is the real goal. And they'll respect us because we're the real top dogs. We're the power behind the throne here. Well, if you're doing that, why on earth would you include a story where Peter is saying, though everyone else betray you, I will never deny you? You don't include stories like that, and you don't repeat them endlessly, because of course where the Gospels come from is they come out of the preached tradition of the church. What you're reading in the Gospels is stuff that's already been preached at 50 billion liturgies all around the ancient world. People have heard this story 50 million times already before it's been written down. So, you know, I think about Peter, you know, like sitting there, presiding at some liturgy, and once again, we get to the story of the Passion, you know, and this is the part where I deny Jesus. I love listening to this part, you know. Why is all of that there? Stories of, you know, Mark running off naked into the night in the Garden of Gethsemane. Terrible, terrible. It's bad optics. That's what the image makers call it, bad optics. So why is it there? It's there because they're honest.